welcome you all tonight to Stevenson College at UC Santa Cruz. My name is Jim Carter. I'm the College Administrative Officer for Stevenson College and Cal College, and I'm privileged to stand in for the Stevenson College Provost, Alice Yang, who was needed to be elsewhere this evening. So thank you all for coming and for being here on time. For those of you who are not familiar with a formal debate process, it's formal, it's structured, and we will be here for 2 hours. There will be, I'll tell you the format now, and then I'll introduce the speakers and tell you about the sponsors. But each opening speaker will have 20 minutes with 10-minute rebuttals from each, so that would take about 40 minutes. And then there's some cross-examination that will take, perhaps 10 to 20 minutes. And then there will be a 30-minute period for questions from the audience. And then each speaker will have 12 minutes to make a closing statement. And by that time, it should be close to 9 o'clock. So that's the formal structure. If you have cell phones or other devices that make noise, you might want to please put them on a silent mode, if you would, or turn them off. That would be helpful. The sponsors tonight are listed on some of the flyers that you've seen. They include Stevenson College and several UCSC student groups, which include the Graduate Christian Fellowship, the Secular Student Alliance, the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, A2 Christian Fellowship, and also Institute for Credible Christianity, Center for Inquiry, Atheists of Santa Cruz and Monterey Counties. And for more information, there's a website, crediblechrestianity.org. Let me tell you a little bit about the presenters tonight, the debaters. Dr. Peter Payne on my right versus Eddie Tabash on my left. Let me start with Eddie Tabash. Eddie is a constitutional lawyer in Beverly Hills, California. He graduated magna cum laude from UCLA in 1973 and from Loyola Law School of Los Angeles in 1976. He is a member of the board of directors of the Center for Inquiry Transnational and its affiliate, the Council for Secular Humanism. He is also a life member of American Atheists. His father was an Orthodox rabbi, ordained at one of the most respected pre-World War II rabbinical seminaries in Lithuania. His mother was an Auschwitz survivor from Hungary. After decades of spiritual seeking, he has concluded that we live in a natural universe with no supernatural agencies or occurrences. Eddie Tabash has debated such prominent Christian philosophers as Peter Van Inwagen, William Lane Craig, Douglas Guyvet, thank you, Richard Swinburne, and is looking forward to his second debate against Christian philosopher Dr. Peter Payne. In this debate, he is formally representing the Center for Inquiry and the Council for Secular Humanism. Dr. Peter Payne is a Christian philosopher. Let me scroll down here for a minute. There we go. He is the managing director of the Institute for Credible Christianity. He and his wife, Janet, work with the UCSC Grad Christian Fellowship. He lectures throughout the U.S. and Europe and participates in debates with prominent atheists. Peter served for 21 years with the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, including work with undergraduates at UC Santa Cruz and Stanford, and later at the University of Michigan with IVCF's grad and faculty ministry. Peter has a BA from Stanford, Philosophy 1973. He did graduate studies at the Universidad Iberoamericana in Mexico City before completing a doctoral degree at the Claremont Graduate School, Philosophy 1996. Peter and Janet make their home in Santa Cruz, California. I'm also to tell you that you can get DVDs either by ordering them or at the table over here. They're $13. If you order them, $10 plus $3 shipping. There's a timekeeper down here, and I will be watching the timekeeper, and when it's time, if the speakers have not stopped, I will ask them to stop and we'll keep it moving. Please refrain from clapping during the debate. Thank you very much.
We each have the opportunity to give a presentation. Since I'm presenting the positive side, I guess that's the reason why I'm going first. When Eddie gives his presentation, he covers a lot of material, so the challenge is to try to respond to those things. There's no way I could possibly respond to all the points that he will raise in his 10 minutes, so I'll touch on a few of those to begin with. However, start off with the question, does God exist? If you ask a person, does God exist, they wouldn't necessarily that God has to be perfectly good. Many people believe in God but don't believe he's perfectly good, don't believe that he knows everything or he's all-powerful. In fact, it's a bit odd to start off with assuming that we ask God exists to start saying that God must be all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good. I mean, after all, that's a lot to buy into originally. Some Christian philosophers will think that's a good starting place. But for most people, the reasonable question about belief in God doesn't assume all that to begin with. Many of Eddie's arguments really assume that you have all three of those and problems which can arise from them. But if one asks, does God exist, one has to ask the preliminary question, is it reasonable to think that something like God might exist? And many of the reasons for believing that God might exist features of the universe that I think are better explainable by belief in God than by naturalism do not presume that God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good, or that he's infallibly revealed himself to us in some divine scripture. So keep that in mind as we go along. On the handouts that you have, I have a list of things that are general reasons for believing that God may exist. My point in those is not that naturalists can't give explanations for them. They can. So, for instance, one of the reasons is the apparent fine-tuning of natural law. I think most naturalists these days who wrestle with that answer by saying, well, there must be a multiverse, a vast number, infinite number of universes. So the naturalist can respond to these things, but my contention is for each of these points, it's given that theism is true, it's less surprising that this point holds than given that naturalism is true. Another example on the list is that we are conscious beings. We're sort of assume we're conscious beings, no big problem with that. What's surprising about that? What's surprising about that is science as we currently understand it tends to be very reductive. We understand how the brain works in terms of neurons firing, interacting with each other. But how can a complex machine ever give rise to consciousness? That really is a deep enigma, and it's an enigma for science. In fact, there was an issue of Scientific American about 20 years ago that the cover article said, "Will science ever explain consciousness?" And I find that to be a rather unusual title for a magazine like Scientific American that tends to have a very anti-religious bias. And the article was saying, well, maybe we never will. And the reason people think that we never be able to explain it is that even if you understood exactly what it is in the human brain that's taking place when consciousness occurs, you'd still be asking, well, why is that conscious? It doesn't seem as though a physical description ever entails a mental description. In fact, one of the difficulties is there seems to be a conceptual gap between physical categories and mental categories. And no matter how you would arrange the physical categories, it doesn't seem as though it would ever entail consciousness. Well, what does one make about that? Does that prove that God exists? No, it doesn't. But I think what it ought to do, it ought to give us some metaphysical humility, as I call it, about the nature of the physical universe around us. Atheists tend to be mechanistic in their way of viewing us. They tend to think of the brain as being a vast, complicated biochemical machine or biochemical computer. But if in fact it was like that and everything was built out of the interaction of parts, my contention is you would never get consciousness. So given this conceptual gap, it seems to me there's two ways one could bridge that. One is to say there really is a substance, a mental substance, not something that operates independently of the brain, because one of the points that Eddie will give is the mind does not operate independently of the brain. But it may well be that there is something, a dualism of substance within us, which are interdependent upon one another, within which the uniqueness of mental characteristics actually do arise from a mental substance which is real and which is different than the physical world around us. It seems to me the other approach to that, which has some real merit to it, is to say that we need to come up with a radical new metaphysics of the natural world. And what I mean by metaphysics is the nature of reality. So we tend to think of the world around us in atomistic terms, of ground up